Hello and welcome to the very first episode of What's the Story. Today I'm going to be talking about my brand new single Puppet Man, which will be coming out this Friday on the 5th of March 2021. If you head down to the description, then there is a link which is a pre-save link. Click on that and you can listen to it before everyone else on Spotify. So I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about What's the Story and about what it is. So this is going to be a mini-series I'm going to be hosting here on my YouTube channel, and it's an opportunity for me to share with you the inspiration behind songs, the stories behind songs, and to answer any questions you might have about the songs. So if there is a specific song that you'd like me to talk about in a future episode, put it down in the comments and I'll do my very best to cover it in a future episode. And if there's any specific questions you have about any of the songs, also stick them down there and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. So Puppet Man is a song that I've had waiting in the wings for quite a few years now. In fact, I can't actually remember when I wrote it, but I've been desperate to release it for ages. And I think the reason it's taken me so long is because I didn't realise it was a country song. Usually I'm working in a slightly different style, so I had to wait for the perfect arrangement to pop into my head, but I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. It's kind of like a dark, moody, folky country song, and I think the music had to be really dark because the lyrics are quite dark with this one. So I'm going to attempt to explain the inspiration behind the lyrics. I've tried to keep this one quite open. I prefer songs when they're not about a specific thing because I think that allows multiple interpretations and meanings, and it lets the listener get their own interpretation out of it as well. So the idea for Puppet Man first came to me when I was reading stories about refugees. What really stuck with me was the bravery of those people, the experiences they go through, and the fact that they might leave one hostile world only to arrive in another world that sometimes is just as hostile or is no more welcoming. It made me think about the idea of freedom and control, and those who try to control others. Throughout history and currently in 2021, freedom is not something to take for granted. Freedom is not something that is an inherent right. It is, tragically, something that needs to be fought for. So that was kind of the thought process behind it, and out of that then these two characters emerged. There is the protagonist who is trying to escape from the situation he's in, and there is the villain, there is the Puppet Man, who is more of a puppet master, and the strings are described as made of steel, and he's got sharpened teeth. This is not just a puppet man, this isn't someone just controlling, this is someone who is inflicting real harm on people as well. It also made me think that often those who are exerting control or those who are causing others to suffer, so like the puppet man in this story, they're often not visible. It's often the victim or the damage that we see, but it's very difficult to assign blame or to assign accountability to that. Which I think is very true in real life as well. So I really wanted the Puppet Man to be a figure that we can't see. And when you try and see that Puppet Man or try and identify it, then you find that you actually have to turn around and run the other way because the eyes of the Puppet Man are these searchlights. So not only can you not see this figure, but you're actively trying to escape and get away from that character as well. So because I didn't want the song to be too literal, then I used imagery and metaphor to explain this journey that the protagonist is on. I'm sure there are things you could read into it. I'm sure if I really read into each line I could pick out meanings. But to be honest, if you asked me again in 10 years what Puppet Man was about, I'd probably give you a completely different answer, because that's the beauty of songs really, and I think the best songs are the ones that are completely open to interpretation and the artist might have a completely different interpretation to the person listening. So musically I knew I wanted this song to sound quite dark, and I wanted something to represent that metallic, steely string effect that we have, that image of this puppet man. And Nathan Greaves, who is the guitarist who plays with us live, who is a genius in his own right, he said, "Oh, you want some lap steel on there?" And I thought, yes, that's perfect, because that is not only that sort of country sound that this song is borrowing from, but it's also that metallic sound that sounds like the strings of the puppet man. But then I thought, I don't have a lap steel guitar. Nathan doesn't have a lap steel guitar, and lap steel guitars are pretty expensive. And then Nathan gets in touch one day and he's like, "Oh, it's fine, I've solved the problem, I've invented a new instrument, I've hand-built a lap steel guitar." It is incredible. He has invented his own lap steel guitar which uses robotics. So instead of having pedals, then there's controllers which he has programmed because he's very good at coding, so that it knows when to bend notes. It's all very clever. I'm not even going to carry on trying to explain because I don't really understand it, and he would do such a better job of explaining. So I will beg Nathan to do a video where he tells us all about his amazing homemade lap steel guitar. So the artwork for Puppet Man. If you know me or my music, you'll know that artwork is a massive part of what I do. I think the artwork is just as important as the music because I want to give people a full experience right the way from what it looks like to what it sounds like, to really tell that story immersively and to give people the best experience they can. So I knew I wanted something really, really great for the cover of Puppet Man. And I knew I wanted something that reflected how dark it was, and perhaps something that would relate to the imagery in the song, or perhaps some of the characters. I got thinking about shadow puppets. I thought that would suit it really well. It's called Puppet Man, it's about control, it's dark, so shadows would fit that really nicely. And then I thought, what about something vintage? So I found a website which lets you buy actual vintage photographs. I looked on there and I found some really good shadow puppet photographs, and this one is from the 10th of July 1978. I really liked this one. For me, that really looked like the character, the protagonist, and the fact that you can see the wires coming down, the strings coming down, but you can't see who's controlling him. So I thought that was perfect, and I'm still trying to find a place to use this. Maybe if there's a music video or something. And it's from a theatre production. There isn't a date. Oh, there is. It's from 1987. Apparently he was opening up the theatre for them. I like how there's this mysterious hand just offering a ticket there at the front. Hopefully this chap will make it into something somewhere, but I couldn't quite make it work for this release. And in the end, I got in touch with a guy called Andrew Benincasa, who is an amazing, amazing paper cut artist. And he was the guy who did the animated music video for Le Fay. If you haven't seen that, I've put a link down in the description. So he's amazing. He cuts out all the imagery by hand and he animates it by hand, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I thought, you know what, I will ask him to do this as well, because that will be consistent with the Le Fay music video and also with the artwork of my latest album, which is called Flowers Where the Horses Sleep, which the artwork for that is also paper cut as well. So everything ties in really nicely. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you found it interesting. If there is another song that you'd like me to talk about, if you have any questions about any of my other songs, pop them down in the comments and I will do a video on that song in a future episode of What's the Story. If you'd like to come along for the journey and not miss an episode, click the subscribe button. I believe there is a little button with a bell on it as well, which you can click, and then you'll be notified and you won't miss an episode, and it would help me out a great deal too. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Was I supposed